Alright, welcome to NFL Film School, Preschool, where we're going to be discussing the Bengals Cowboys game, which for the first team was not a great success, but we saw more success with the second and third teams. Now, in this first part, we're going to be talking offense, mostly the offensive line. Now, what do you have lined up for us, John?
Right, so the first play that I wanted to look at was a 2nd and 9 run to Joe Mixon going off the right side. And we're going to focus on center Billy Price here. He's going to go up against a shaded nose tackle lined up against his right outside shoulder. So this is where he's snapping. And we're going to notice how he gets out of his stance and how that allows the nose tackle to unfortunately get some easy penetration on him. So you see, just coming out of his stance, there's a little false movement with Price. And you want to see that kind of cleaned up because you want to see him get out of his stance as quickly as possible to get this reach block so he can get out in front of 64. So 64 doesn't have as clear of a lane to penetrate into the backfield and kind of disrupt this run in the first place. But Trey Hopkins obviously gets pushed back a little bit as well, but does a good job of finishing Lawrence kind of out of the play as best as he can. Mixon does a good job here just getting what he can, 4 yards. So on this next play, in the middle of the second quarter, we're going to focus on Bobby Hart getting out of his stance to face a DeMarcus Lawrence pass rush, and Lawrence is going to recognize Hart's exaggerated kick slide, because Hart, I noticed a lot of times his movement is out of control, and he's so concerned about beating his guy around the edge that he gets out in space a lot quicker, and this allows Lawrence to just recognize this immediately and take a free inside lane that eventually gets Dalton killed here.
So what is the appropriate movement here? Like, let's say the guy does do an outside move. So should he read his defender better?
Right, because he's trying as hard as he can to win on the outside, right? But you see the rest of the protection it's a slide protection towards the left because the Cowboys have 3 other defensive linemen going up against the 4 other offensive linemen. So, but with Hart doing this, it creates a gap right here. That B cap is wide open for Lawrence to just read off of and just enter. So Hart has to just do a better job of being more controlled, you know. I mean, just look at where his feet are right now. Like he's not mirroring Lawrence at all, and Lawrence just takes advantage of this just easily.
Yeah, there's a big gap there, and it's only a 4-man rush too.
Right, and this was a common thing that I saw from Hart in the game is that he's so concerned about not getting beat around the edge, he sacrifices an inside lane far too easily. So now we're going to get to some good plays, though. We have Cordy Glenn going up against Randy Gregory here off the left edge. And Glenn is initially going to get beat with a spin move, but he recovers so seamlessly. See how his hands are like up in the air? You know, his chest is completely invaded, but watch the reset. Boom.
Yeah, but he's so big. It's like the guy just ran into a wall of man.
Yeah, he just absorbs force so easily at, 340 pounds? And Randy Gregory is about, I think, 100 pounds less than him, so you can kind of see the difference in power they can both generate and absorb.
How has Glenn looked overall in your evaluation, John?
He's definitely been better than what the Bengals have had at tackle so far, but no, I think he's fully healthy, and I think that definitely helps because what we've seen in the past from Glenn is that when he's healthy, he's an above-average left tackle, and plays like this show why.
Above average. I mean, we gave up a very premier draft pick. You know, moved down a lot of 9 spots. I think. Yeah, I mean, he should be much better than above average, right?
I think it's all relative because the Bengals have had not below average but poor tackle play the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So now we have Christian Westerman, Jake Fisher at left guard, left tackle, respectively, and they're going to work well in tandem here against the Cowboys' right side pass rush. We're going to see Ethan Carter kind of chip the edge, and the edge is going to come off of this with a spin move and try to invade this inside gap. Westerman passes off his man to center Trey Hopkins. Fisher and Westerman both recognize this, pick it up perfectly. Jeff Driscoll has ample room to set his feet. We're also going to see Alex Redmond, Cedric Ogbuehi work on their little twist. You see the edge. Kind of moves around the defensive tackle. Redmond passes his guy off to Ogbuehi, and Ogbuehi manages it perfectly. This is one of the best reps from the second team offensive line. And on this drive, Trey Hopkins came in for Billy Price at center, and he actually had a couple good plays, and this is the second of 2 great pulls that we've seen from Hopkins. We're going to see strong side linebacker here, kind of flow with the play, trying to get to the outside, trying to force Carson back inside. Hopkins is going to pick him up perfectly. And Hopkins' best trait has always been pulling, because he's so good at targeting guys and in space and taking the perfect angle to minimize the movement that he needs to clear guys out.
And this is something we saw, when Paul Alexander was here, but it's continued now. It seems like it's something the Bengals like to do a lot of. But
oh yeah.
Even though the coaching staff has changed, is it a Marvin Lewis thing or?
Well, I think it's because most of the personnel that the Bengals have on offense works better on power schemes like this. So they've pulled a lot in the past with guys like Clint Boling and Kevin Zeiler and Andrew Woodworth even. And Hopkins is kind of in that, not the same caliber of players as those guys, but his skill set, his athleticism, and his understanding of angles allows him to be great in pulls like this and get out in space and work well in these power concepts. And this play is just one of the many examples of why Hopkins has looked far better than TJ Johnson at backup center.
All right. Well, looks like, John, we can say that relatively speaking, the second and third stringers impressed. They did a solid job, whereas the first team didn't really do a good job overall. But there were some flashes, like you said, Cordy Glenn. Maybe a little bit of improvement. I remember there was a stat about Billy Price and his pass protection in the 2 preseason games, which has been very solid. So what is your overall assessment of the first team?
Yeah, Price has looked okay in pass protection. He hasn't really been challenged with any one-on-one situations, but he's just been doing what he's been tasked to do, and that's been solid there. He still has a couple of warts in the run blocking, but I think he played overall better in this game than he did against Chicago. Unfortunately, the problem at right tackle is still persisting because Bobby Hart does not look like a starting caliber tackle, and the guys behind him, Cedric Ogbuehi, specifically hasn't looked any better than when he has looked in the past. But the Bengals don't have any issues on the left side with Glenn and Boling and Westerman. In the time that he's been out there at second team left guard, he's looked really good. So it's a wonder why the coaching staff doesn't want Westerman at right guard. Maybe they think he's more comfortable playing from the left side, but I think they have to figure out some issues on the right side if they want to get this thing running at full speed.
Yeah, for sure. So look, we're going to be back to the second part of the show coming up. Don't forget, if you want to win a prize, once a week we will be giving away a drawing. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment about me or Hoji, what you like about us. And if you want to win the starting lineup figure, you just leave a comment about Jeff Blake, Corey Dillon, or Carl Pickens. Also, you can support our GoFundMe page, and we have a Patreon account. We'll be right back.